Welcome to the Majors Metal Podcast. I'm Gavin, and this is Chris. I am in Canada, as you can tell by my voice. I'm from the UK, from the Wirral, and so is Chris. But Chris is in Northern Ireland, and I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. So we're
Oh,
spread
hello,
out.
fellas. We are,
Yeah,
aren't we? I'm in
yeah.
old London.
Whereabouts are you based, Ben?
I'm in London, but I was up in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, looking out there, staying right down by the river. Could just about make out Birkenhead, just about. The
Yeah.
fog had
Yeah.
come down. Hear that
That's
little tone, that little fog warning there
that's
on
the
the
best
motorway.
way to see Birkenhead is from a distance.
It
And,
did.
and
I have
through
to
a
say,
through a
it was
haze.
Yeah.
quite mysterious. I'm a big fan of Liverpool. I studied there. Um, Many years ago now, before you had to pay for your university education. That's how long ago it was. Yeah, and I had a friend there, used to work in Greasby Library. He used to get bored and he'd do Alan Wicker impressions when people called up. He'd be like, "Hello, Greasby Library, can I help you, please?" Yeah,
How
Gary,
did you
there we go.
so talking about university and stuff then that probably leads me on to like my first question is obviously most people aren't going to be voice actors or actors or whatever. So
Yeah.
kind of curious how does that happen? Like what was your early life like for you to end up doing that as a career?
Yeah, I listen a lot. Being the youngest of four helps. You have to listen. You're either little gobby so and so, or you just sit there and you shut up and listen to your older brothers and sister. Um, so yeah, I kind of I think listening a lot helps if you're going to use your voice. It's good to listen, and I did do impersonations and things when I was a kid. Just not really anyone. Teachers at school, I used to do mainly. Try and stop the other boys from beating me up. And yeah, I think Wallace was one of those voices I could even do back then, and I probably just sort of had a go at it, you know. Um, that, but not like, oh, I'm gonna do this when I'm gonna grow up. I listened to a lot of Peter Sellers rather than Salis. I listened to him, and he did lots of voices and lots of vocal characterizations, and I think I certainly, loved listening to those. They used to make me laugh.
So
Um,
you were already doing the sort of Wallace voice when you were a kid.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those. I thought, I think I can do this because, I mean, the story is, if you haven't heard it, I never auditioned for the part of Wallace. I never auditioned for this role. I just heard about a job opportunity from my good friend, Nonnie Lewis. I name check her every time because this is how I got into it. She's a Welsh voice actress and award-winning writer now as well, it seems, the other week. So well done, Nonnie. She just called me up and said, I'm at Bristol. I'm working with Aardman. They need a male voice just to read in lines whilst they're auditioning for the Curse of the Were Rabbit. So I got down there straight away, and I just told Steve Box, who was auditioning me, the director and the co-director of the film. I said, "Oh, by the way, I can sort of do an impression if it's useful." And he said, "Well, okay." And that was that. I was like, "Well, we'll keep your number then." And
Is
so
that
I
how you
sort of,
sort of
yeah.
ended up in the games, was it then? Because
That's how that was my first job as an understudy for Peter Sallis. Struggling as he was with his eyesight, his macular degeneration at the time meant that he was unable to do, it's difficult for him, I should say, to do a lot of work. His voice was always fine, but yeah, it was a real struggle with these. I mean, the games were pretty intense. They're probably the four games that we did, the Grand Adventures, were probably the most intense. Sorry, intense. Speaking into a microphone, but it was, it was four games done pretty soon. I think concurrent days, full days, and yeah, it was. That's how I got into it, and that's it. How do you get into voice acting? You land a job with Aardman, and how do you do that? We said it's a bit of luck, a bit of chance, but it's also being available. I think as well as an actor, it's like you miss out on jobs. One of the worst things about acting, one of the worst things about, is not being able to do a job you want to do because you're doing something else. Not that that happens much to
yeah,
me,
because I guess they
not
don't
as
wait
much as
around,
I
do they?
like. I don't have to turn down much, but yeah, having to sort of turn down work that you really want to do.
So
It's
did
yeah.
Peter Sallis ever give you any feedback on your? Because I assume he obviously heard you do the voice.
No, no, no. I think out of respect, no. Whether or not he did, but no, we were always very respectful for the fact that this was his role. He's very
Yes.
proud of this role. I know that from reading his autobiography, and even visiting his gravestone. He's got it written on his gravestone. You know, it meant so much to
Oh
him.
wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was an important thing, and it obviously meant a lot to Nick as well. Working with him, and not being able to work with him was, it was always the voice. He was always the voice he had in mind for Wallace. So I didn't. With that in mind, you think, well, I don't expect to sort of get this as a job. It
Yeah.
wasn't. I did a lot of work, and we did a lot of projects, but it was Merlin I was working with quite extensively, and he just sort of mentioned 6 or 7 years ago. He said, we've been hinting there's a feature film we're looking at. Well, we've kind of finished the script, and we've got you in mind. So that was it. Then the nerves started jangling.
That's
Anyway,
crazy.
there was what question did you even ask me? I'm just gone on.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering about like what he thought of you, doing the voice. Obviously he never passed comment on it, but like it's just me and Chris were saying as well. It's not even like like you look at say Kermit the Frog, for instance. Kermit the Frog's
Mm,
had several people voice him over the years.
mm,
Each one, completely different to how I would say Jim Henson did it originally. But like with
mm.
you, it's like you can't even tell the difference. There's like
No.
no difference. I mean, maybe you can, but like to anyone else, I can't tell the difference. Like it's not even an impression. It's like it's him. It's almost
That, that
like
that was
Peter
actually one of
Sallis
my
is still with
questions.
us.
It was like,
Yeah.
is there any digital editing done on your voice at all to like make it so much like Peter Sellers, or is
No.
that completely unfiltered?
No, I mean I know that they used to sometimes use pitch changes. I think I must say I know. I think there might have been sort of pitch changes, but there's no, no artificial ingredients or anything like that in there
That's
for
crazy because
sure.
like I've watched clips of you doing the voice and like how you sound now and of a normal day versus how you sound in those clips. It's like that voice should not come out of that man.
I gotta keep saying it, man. Honestly, time. It's time. They gave me time. This is it really hit me, being interviewed for the Netflix thing that they did, and I just thought, yeah, it was they. I've had 20 years to work on this, and it's not like I've been, stuck in my room trying to hit the word cheese right or whatever. I've just had the time to develop it, and Aardman have given me that. It wasn't always a shoo-in, and I know that they did see other people, but they stuck with me, and they stuck with me because they liked the way I acted, and they gave me the sort of, in the when we started making this film, they said, look, the character's evolved. Don't worry about the voice match. You just do the acting, and that's what I did. It was I was like, I tried to do anyway. But yeah, no, it's nice of you to say so, and people say it. I mean, obviously I can, and as a fan, I'm like, oh, it's not Peter. It's like, well, of course it's not. It's you idiot. Um, but I think a lot of people have said they kind of aware of it. Watching the Vengeance Most Foul, they were aware of the voice change, and then they just a lot of people said, yeah, but then I just forgot about it, and I was like, yeah, well, because the animation's so strong, it takes you away. You're not conscious of it, the thing. But I was like, it's also that's kind of how it felt recording it in a way.
Yeah.
I was more conscious of it to begin with, and then just went, I mean, gotta go with the flow of it now, and just try and hit the lines they want, and we're two directors, you think you never
Yeah,
get
no,
this.
it's
There's
it's
no
incredible.
with
But
animators. There's
as
no
a
there's
fa
no. Oh, that was wonderful, darling. They're just like, yeah, that was okay. That's the
It
best you're
must be
gonna get
hard to
out
like
of me.
just. It must be a bit of a struggle against like imposter syndrome to fill someone's shoes like that.
Well,
That must take
it,
character.
it's well, thank you. It's again, I think time helps, and the only time I've really had imposter syndrome was not feeling like an actor. And I suppose, yeah, because Peter, is a very good actor, trained at RADA, they're beloved, was in the longest ever sitcom, um, longest running sitcom ever. And I was in the Albert Hall, and it was my first sort of big animation job with the musical Marvels. And I'm sitting there in the Albert Hall, and so there's a live orchestra, and there's this new animation, and I just thought, why am I here? I'm not an actor. I'm not good enough to be here. And that was the imposter syndrome that I felt then. I was like, oh, I'm playing to a room in Camden to 6 people tomorrow night. Let her do some comedy. But yeah, I've gone up, by the way. Now it's 15 people in Clapham these days rather than Camden.
It's a
No, I
big
mean,
percentage.
just to add as well, like as a fan of, because I've grew up with Wallace and Gromit, absolutely love it, and like as a fan, it's so nice to have somebody take over the voice that sounds like the character as much as Wallace still does. I'm a massive, you can see in the background, I'm a massive Muppets fan. I've got Kermit the Frog over
Yeah,
there in the
me
corner.
too.
And I'm not a huge fan of the way, like Matt Vogel is the current voice of Kermit the Frog, and I'm not a massive fan of the way he does it, just because I'm so particular, because that's the thing with these franchises when you're growing up, they mean so much to the fans. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure you feel the same about
Yeah.
certain things as well. So like it's almost like the character. It feels like it's part of you and you own that. So you want it to be taken care of properly, and you just honestly like you just nail it. It's so nice to have somebody take on the role and nail it like you do.
Well, again, I thank you, and yeah, I love Kermit as well, and I've heard this is not the first time I've heard this. They're like, oh no, I can't quite get on with the voice of Kermit. I'm like, for me, the strength is in what's been done in the past and the legacy
Yeah.
of it. Jim Henson built originally, and then what Brian took over was it for the Muppets Christmas Carol,
Well,
and
Steve Whitmere took over from again. It was kind of like similar situation to you and Peter Sallis. It's like Steve Whitmere always was working with Jim Henson anyway on the
yeah,
various Muppet projects, and then when Jim passed away, like everyone was aware that like Steve could do a really good Kermit the Frog, and he was already a
yeah,
puppeteer, so it just made sense. And to be honest, like, so he voices going off on a bit of a tangent, but he voices Kermit in the Muppets Christmas Carol, and as a
right,
kid, I didn't even notice that it wasn't Jim. I didn't realize that Jim had passed away before that film was made.
yeah.
So
It
it
was
like
it was very slight. He was good. Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah,
was really good, but then I don't know if you remember, but there was a whole thing with he ended up getting fired from the Muppets. I think there
yeah.
was just like things going on behind the scenes, so he doesn't work with them anymore. So now Matt Vogel's took over, and it's
Mm.
just not the same. Matt Vogel's an amazing puppeteer, and the puppets that he does are great. But it
Mhm.
just this Kermit the Frog is just, and some fans say, "Oh well, this is Matt's version of Kermit," so, and it's like, yeah, but I don't want,
Mhm.
I want Kermit. I don't want Matt's version. Do you know what I mean? I want him to sound like he's supposed to sound. So
It's a
yeah,
hard
Well,
balance to strike, that, isn't it? It's like some people are always going to sort of be in favor of someone making
yeah.
something their own, and
yeah.
then there's other
Well,
people who just want it. Don't change anything, make it sound
well,
exactly the same.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a few people out there who don't like what my interpretation of Wallace. And that's
If
fair
there
enough.
is,
I'm
I'd
like,
love to speak to them, and I'd
well,
love them to explain to me what it is, because
uh,
You can't
can't
tell the
even tell.
difference.
It's just so
well,
it's the best, like it's the best takeover voice ever. It's the best
oh man,
because it's what you
don't.
want
Well,
as a fan. You know what I mean? You don't want it to sound different.
that I
Seamless.
mean, well, listen. I mean, the question. You're talking about it not being happy. This was very much on my mind when we were recording this. This was very much. It was a daunting thing. Is I don't have fans. Like, who are my fans? I'm just a jobber actor. Wallace and Gromit, I should say, have a lot of fans, as I am
Yeah,
finding out. And you think, well, it's, these guys keep it going, it's what are they going to think of it? And you think, well, just get on with the job, but it's always there in your head. You're thinking, not only can people be disappointed, when people are going to be disappointed. You're in a yeah, it's just me in a booth with a microphone, but when
yeah,
you turn on social media, if people are disappointed,
yeah.
Have you
and
Well,
had
once
have you
that
had any sort of
happens,
like
there's a pile
backlash
on
or
you
anything?
there. No,
Has
nothing.
anyone
But I
said?
mean, I'm not like I haven't dug too deep, to be honest with you.
No, probably
Into
best
that
not to do
into
that.
that realm.
If you
I'm
dig
just
deep
like,
enough on anything, you'll find it, right?
yeah, I'm not. I don't want to go there. I'm
Yeah.
just taking all the plaudits and the love, and that makes you feel good. To be honest with
Do
you,
you
so
ever get recognized?
so, um, it actually happened. I went to see a theatre show. There's a theatre company called 1927, and they're my good friends, dear friends, I'll call them. I'm such a lovey. They do amazing theatre shows with animated backdrop. Paul Barrett's the animator, and so the actors act with an animated backdrop and interact with it. So it's always pretty funny, but it's sort of mesmeric stuff that they create. Anyway, I went to see their Christmas show. Please write back at the South Bank Centre in London, and two guys came up to me father and son, and said, "Excuse me, are you Wallace?" And I said, "Well, I'm Ben. Nice to meet you." And they were like, "Just want to say, oh, we're really big fans, and we must have seen your thing." And I just said, "This is the first time this has happened, Jed. So what a like, Mark, this is very kind of you
That's
to
it.
say so." And then I told them I
Don't be
was in the
strange,
other
man.
show that 1927 did, Golem, and I said, "Yeah, I was the Golem in that." And they were like, "Oh my God, we saw that twice." So yeah. Yeah, it was a double whammy for them. But yeah, that happened. But I think that's the only time so far. But yeah,
So it's
yeah,
generally by people who are fans of your work and will know your face because obviously most of the work that you
yeah,
do is voice acting, right?
yeah. I
Um,
like I like that. I
Seeing
like
that you
that
do a
as a
lot of
as a
video
performer.
games.
Yeah, I went to a student conference in Liverpool last week. That's why I was up in Liverpool. Um, and there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, and you did this and you did that." These games, and I'm going, did I? I can't remember. I just turned up and did some noises in front of a microphone. It's like, what's wrong with you, man? Take an interest in your work. But you do. You just kind of go like, I'm doing another game today, and then something else tomorrow, whatever else. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess for
I
the people who are the fans of this stuff, right, then it's like these
mhm,
people come into this and probably like live with this game for like a month, 3 months, 6 months,
yeah,
whatever, while they're playing this thing. To you,
yeah.
I'm assuming that that's probably there and done in like a day. Do you know what I mean? In some
Well,
cases.
for most games, yeah, yeah, really
Yeah.
are. You've got for my involvement in it, and that's the thing. Most of my involvement in games is quite low key. I don't think I've ever had the starring role in apart from Wallace and Gromit. There's been a
I
couple,
went
but I
through
do.
like a bunch of them though, like in preparation for this, like we always
Oh
do
yeah,
when we've got guests on, right? We do a bit of research to make sure that we've like got things to
yeah.
talk about and stuff. And I went through and I was
Mhm.
like, shit, like he's done the voice of this and this and you know what I mean? Like, and it started seeing all these. Like, I'm a big gamer personally, so I seen a
Yeah.
lot of this and was like, no way.
Oh man. Well, I game as well, but Nintendo, so it's all very quick.
Yeah.
I played Worms, Worms the other day.
Worms
There
is a
was a
great
worm. I
game.
Great
love Worms. It's such a
game.
good game. I love the voice in it as well. It's one voice. I've got to find out who it is. It might take more interest, but he was really good. Um, just yeah, hilarious. But so yeah, I need quick games. Otherwise, that's it. I'm done. It's
Yeah.
the full days have gone by before I need game over to come up,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and say do something else now. You got
Is
attachment.
that is
And
that is
that's
that
the
like a
things
problem
with,
you have?
with
Is it like pulling you in?
with games these
Is it
days.
what?
They're
Sorry.
never over anyway. You never see game over anymore because there's always they just
Yeah,
carry on.
exactly.
As soon as you finish the
Yeah,
main missions, there's always extra stuff to
yeah,
do, and it's just
Yeah.
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 And
I'm
end
just
game
talking.
GTA,
content is a
wasn't it?
big thing now, isn't it? Like, what's your end game content? Like what can I
Yeah.
keep playing? What's the replayability in them?
Mm, yeah,
So
Yeah.
with
you've
this
been
with this
playing.
movie, Avengers Most Foul, like you were saying before, it obviously must have been really daunting to you going into this because like
Yeah.
essentially your voice carries the whole movie, in the sense of like you are the main character that has a voice. Like Gromit doesn't speak,
Mm.
and to be fair, you're almost speaking for that character as well because it's just you. So to go into this must have been like. How do you even feel doing that? Going into it for the first time? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's it. The thing is, I've seen this with another actor. I worked on The Pirates and the Adventure with Scientists.
oh yeah,
And I worked with an actor on that, and they were daunted by it, and you could see it. And it wasn't until they saw that first bit of animation they just went, "Oh, I see now. That it's not me, it's you guys. You're the stars. Your animation is what was, of course, the voice is what they animate too, but it's the animation that brings it to life." And for some reason, I forgot that. So being really nervous, and going, "Oh, am I going to have to do this?" And then they showed me the first bit of animation. It was just like, you idiot. You forget. You're not the star. These guys are the stars here. Like not that
Yeah.
I thought it was a star, but you know what I mean? It was just that pressure that you felt. It's like they've got you. These guys have got you. They've been doing this for a long time and they're very, very good at it. They're the best. So you're gonna be okay. And all of a sudden
Do
those
they have to make
concerns
any changes
weren't
to the
melt away.
animation based off of your voice, or is it just like, how you deliver a line, or do you have to do sort of the voice to match the animation?
Oh no, they record the voice first. Um, I mean the changes there's a check. There's if you look at when I went around to look at the just it's just not necessarily directly answering your question, but they showed me some Wallace puppets from back from different projects as well, and you really do notice the evolution in the character. The actual characters change, shape and he looks different, a little bit different in every film, especially from the first film. You know, the Grand Day Out, the more sort of rudimentary, student film that Nick was making there, which I love, by the way. It might be my favorite, The Grand
Yeah,
Day
it's
Out. I
great.
just think
Love it.
it's such a good setup. Someone was talking to me. I'm going to go off on one. They said they love the early Wallace and Gromit films when there's sort of no other characters. And they said it was, it's just them, or
Yeah.
there's, Feathers or Wendeline and Preston, the Robo Dog, Cyber Dog, and they said they reminded them of David Lynch. They were like, oh, this kind of David Lynch, like, these empty places. I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough. I don't know if that was ever a plan, but maybe just like less animation to do more like.
Yeah.
As soon as they get
Yeah.
some, big Hollywood DreamWorks money behind them, it's like, let's get some more characters in this thing, which, it's what got me a job with them.
Yeah, definitely. I think my favorite's probably The Wrong Trousers, and that's just based on
Yeah,
memory. I remember I was off school sick one day, and my mum was like, "Oh, watch this." I'd already seen the first one, and then so I
yeah,
put that one on, and I just remember not being in school, so it was already cool because I got to stay home, and I just
yeah.
watched it, and I was just blown away with it, and then that Christmas they came out with this Wallace and Gromit modeling kit. I don't know if you remember those.
Right.
So it was essentially
I
just a
didn't get one
kit with
myself. You
like
could make your own.
different pieces of plasticine, the colors that you needed to make the character, two characters, actually the three characters, because Feathers was part of it as well. And you get the little plastic eyes to put in. And
Could you animate it though? Did they say like
yeah, yeah.
you need a little camera
Do you
and
know
set
what?
a
I've been
camera?
dying to tell you this. So it's nothing great. I just really wanted to tell you.
Hmm.
So anyway, so I got this kit and it came with like pieces of wire that you'd put inside and you'd model the clay
Nice.
around the wires.
Yeah.
And I didn't make Wallace because it was just too intricate. Like there was all the different colors and stuff. And of course, the plasticine would
Mhm.
start to, once you mix one color with another, it didn't work very
Making
well.
his jumper was difficult as well, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I had one
Yeah,
of
So
those
tie
kits and I
tie dye
just
cable
couldn't.
knit tank top.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
managed to make Gromit because it was just the two colors. So I did it and I nailed it. It was like the best. Like Nick would have been proud. It was a great
yeah,
Gromit. And my dad had a camcorder, and he was really like he didn't want anyone using this camcorder. It was his, and he like use it for like family parties and stuff. But I managed to like convince him to let me use it for like 20 minutes,
yeah,
and I sat there for hours. He basically, I think he fell asleep, and I was sat there for hours, like moving this grommet around, just quick record, stop, just kept
mm,
doing it. And these cameras weren't made to do that, so there was a chance I
no,
could have ended up breaking it. I didn't, but and then to play it back and just watch. And you know what? It was so good. I did it really well, and all it was like him turning his head from one spot to the next, and his eyebrow thing would go up and down, and it was just, and the ears moved a little bit, and it took me hours just to get this one quick, like minute long thing, and it was
yeah,
amazing. And at the time, my mum had sent me to a tutor because I needed extra help with schoolwork, and the tutor used to encourage any of the kids that were there to like if you've got a talent and you like to do stuff, like show us what it is. And so my mum had mentioned how he likes to make these animation things. My mum
yeah,
ended up buying me a video camcorder as well for Christmas one year to do this specifically. And yeah, I took in a VHS cassette and put it on, and all the kids in the room watched these little videos that I've made using the clay, and it was amazing. It was so much fun, and it's just a memory I've got in my mind of like Wallace and Gromit. It's literally a part of me. I've never done
did you
anything
keep?
else with it since, but like just
Yeah,
as a kid, it was so much fun to do. So
yeah. Did you keep them? Those
no, but I
um
wish I had because like
yeah.
I probably just would have went hard and become like a little statue, wouldn't it, in the end? So it would have been cool to keep.
I
But
meant the film. I meant the animation.
oh, the
Did you
film.
keep?
Oh, yeah, yeah, probably somewhere. Yeah.
Might have them on a videotape somewhere. You
I
get
got
them.
lazy in the end, and I thought, you know what I can do? I can just start using action figures instead of using. And I think at the time Nickelodeon had a stop motion TV thing on that was called Action League, and it was like literally it was like He-Man's figures and stuff, and it was just a
Yeah.
spoofy thing. So I started doing that instead, and kind of came away from. Of course, I only had so much clay to mess with anyway, and once that had been used, it was good anyway. So yeah, it kind of fizzled away in the end. But I just love stop motion. There's just something about it that's so
Yeah.
special. It's
Yeah.
real, isn't it? It's like it's real light hitting a real object.
Mm,
So like you can reach out and touch Wallace. You know what I mean? You can.
yeah.
It's real, and that's what I like about it. These little
Yeah.
miniature sets. There was a thing on in Liverpool years ago. One of the movies had come out. I can't remember which one it was now, but there was like an exhibition on in one of the museums, and it was like the sets from Wallace and Gromit movie. Don't think there was any of the statues there, but the little sets were there. And I was just fascinated going in and just looking at these little tiny streets and buildings and stuff, and it was all from
Mm.
one of the films. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I, I,
go on.
I'd be like a kid in a sweet shop. If I went to Aardman Productions, I'd be like a
Oh,
child in a sweet shop.
that's exactly what I'm like. I mean, I get too excited anyway, even at work. It's like, calm down, man, calm down. But when they show you around the set, you're allowed to be a little bit excited. I think you're not allowed to take pictures, but you're allowed to be excited.
Yeah.
I near the Beaconsfield Film School, and I think I asked Nick this, but I don't know. But near the Beaconsfield Film School, where Nick Park got his film training, yeah, he there's a place called Beaconscott Model Village. And it was basically these two fellas who just started to make a little model village. One was from Beaconsfield, where the film school is, and the other one was from Ascot, where the race course is. And I think they just went like, let's make it really big, and like, come on, that's it. And there's this really cool model village right near it. And I always wondered whether, Nick had been inspired a little bit about it to create these sets in this town, which isn't Preston. I was surprised to hear. I thought it was kind of based on Preston, where he's from, but it's not. I think it's very much a fictitious town. But yeah, it's a fascinating little place. Like you said, this world. You really appreciate the craft that's even gone into that just from two hobbyists, who set this thing up. I took my niece and nephew, they weren't impressed. This was a few years back, but they're like, oh, no, we want to go to Harry Potter, the Harry Potter studio.
Yeah, no, it would be incredible. So, have you seen them filming stuff before? Have you seen them doing that? Because that would fascinate me as well. Actually, watching them film a quick little scene.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Just not really at times. I mean, down there, and when you go into the studio, the big studio because they've got the one in Gasferry Road in Bristol there, where most of the work I do is there, and they've got smaller studios there. But out of town, just out of town, they got the big, Aztec West Park studio there. And that can accommodate up to 45, I think 45 units. So you've got 45 potential scenes going on. So, there's an awful lot of preparation, and it's 5 times as much preparation going into that. Um, what do you know what one of the most interesting thing is, and they've actually, you might have seen this bit of film, was the live action video that they do. So rather than seeing them animate it, you see them, and Nick was sitting there, maybe for the camera, but the animators act out the scene. So
Oh
they
yes,
film
I
it
did see clips of
and
that.
they
Yeah.
act it. It's called the live action video. And yeah, I think they said they're the only ones that do it. I think it was a Disney thing that they used to like to do. But yeah, so you get before they even like this. The preparation's amazing. Before they even start to animate, it's like, Nick, get in there and show us exactly what it is.
It's funny as well
So the
because Nick,
director's
like,
sitting there
he
acting it
turns
out.
into Wallace, doesn't he, when he's doing it? Like the expressions he
Oh
pulls and stuff, he
yeah,
literally turns into
yeah,
plasticine. Like it's so
yeah, yeah,
bizarre.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So you
amazing.
notice that. You notice that a lot. Yeah, yeah.
So this movie's recently been announced as an Oscar nominated movie. Like, how
Mm.
do you feel about
Can I be smug? Can I
that?
be
Of
really
course.
smug?
Absolutely.
It's the fourth time, mate. And I had to check that. I was like going, hang on a minute. It's the fourth one that okay, I'm fair enough. I haven't played the lead in it or as I build anyway. But yeah, the Were Rabbit, which won, Loaf and Death and Pirates was nominated as well. And so this is the fourth one to be nominated. So like,
And did you say one of them had
really working
previously
with
won
him.
as well? Did
Where rabbits,
The
yeah.
Were Rabbit won the in
it won?
2005, 2006 won the best animated feature. Yeah, so that was a bit of a buzz. I don't mind telling you because I got a credit in it, and it's Mr. Leaching. But I'd worked on the film
Yeah.
extensively, just reading in for Peter or reading in for Ray Fiennes when they were recording it. But yeah, and I'm working on the Pirates was great fun as well. I mean, I was because with the Pirates we got with the Were Rabbit and the Pirates we get they didn't always need me because they sometimes got all the actors in the room. So, Helena Bonham Carter and Peter Sallis. I'm name dropping now, but trust me, I was excited. I was, I had dropped out of a teaching course. I'd given up acting, and I found myself like the next day in a room with, some of these great actors. But yeah, the Pirates was the same. I'd be there reading in, but there'd be, these all the like, three or four voices from the film in the same studio. Yeah, they tried that out. With this one, no, it was just us, and I did check with the other actors just in case they hadn't all met up together without me and at a party. But no,
Leaving
we
you
were on
out.
our own. Well, it's just the studio we were in as well. Actually, it's technical, but it actually really makes a difference because we weren't in the sound booth. We weren't there separated and speaking to, Clem Fandango down the line or whatever. This was me in a room with the two directors and the sound engineer and script supervisor. So we're there sharing the same space and my smells and whatever else. So it was a much nicer way of doing it for sure than being separated and in that booth, lonely as you get,
Yeah,
and
I can imagine.
mad
Yeah,
as well. With the
yeah.
separation, your brain just goes, you just be firing off all kinds of stuff.
So as far as the Oscars goes, are you going to be invited to go to that? Like, how does
I,
that work?
I'm gonna crash it. I'm gonna crash it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there like what's he called, Simon Brodkin. I'll be crashing in the Oscars. No, I think I seem to remember. I mean, it's Peter Salas's autobiography because he got invited by Nick. Is yeah, you don't get that many invites to the Oscars if you're up for the animation one. But there's a BAFTA award ceremony, of course, before that, which maybe I'll
Oh,
be going
nice.
to that. Who knows? Who knows?
So
Wait, watch this space.
if it wins, and hopefully it will, if it wins some awards, will you be given? I'm not saying you would get the Oscar, but like, would you be given something to show for winning? Do you know what I mean? Like something like a plaque or something you can keep in the house.
I want to show you something now. Wait a
Okay,
minute.
yeah.
So for the listeners at home, I'm now showing up. This is what you get if you work on an album film. Look at this. This is a golden carrot. Job well done written on the back. Now, this was an important part in the film. Just to describe it, it's about what, 3 inches high, and the carrot's about 3 inches long, yeah. And it's a sort of brass award that says job well done on the back. And this featured obviously at the end of the Were Rabbit as the award for the vegetable competition, which Gromit fires out of the gun to take down that wonderful plane fight there. And so I was given this. If you worked on the movie, you get one of these. I hope everyone did. And this is the one. I also got one for the last film. We're not really worried about spoilers now with the turnip, but yeah, I got the prize turnip one. So I
Wow.
have my awards.
So
I'm
you don't
very
need the
happy with
Oscar
these
then.
two.
That's what you're saying. You don't need it.
I think if they win it, I'll be like, can I hold it? Can I hold it? Can I come down to
So if
Bristol and
they
hold
turn
it?
around to you, right, and says, "Give us back your little awards there that we've given you, and you can have the Oscar," what would you do?
You're not having these. You're not having my awards. Um, I remember Vic and Bob getting a BAFTA once. It was so funny. They just came up and Vic just got like a little plastic bag. I just put it in like a small little Woolies bag or something like that, and and dropped it as well. I think. So, thanks.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, it's gonna win something. But yeah, it's
That
won
would
a
be
lot
good.
of hearts. It's won people over. It's
It
honestly,
definitely deserves it. It was actually incredible. Like I kind of put off watching it a little bit, knowing that we were going to
yeah,
be speaking to you, and I wanted it to be
yeah,
sort of fresh in my mind when I watched it.
yeah,
And I sat there about 2 weeks ago and watched it with my wife and my little boy.
yeah.
Um, and my little boy was not taken by the advert, to be honest.
Mm.
We normally say, "Hey, do you want to watch that?" He's about 5 years old. Do you want to watch
Okay, I was
that?
gonna
And
say,
he,
how old is he?
he will tell you very, very readily whether he was into it or not. But we watched it regardless, and he absolutely loved it. We all did. It was absolutely brilliant. It was such a
As
fun film. It was
honestly,
just absolute masterpiece, I think.
oh, Chris, honestly, there's the fact that young people are like, it's not just people like us, not just the old
Yeah,
fans who
because
are going, look, we're
that
like
was my
kids.
worry, you
Young
see,
people are
because
loving it. Yeah,
like us guys, right, we're all sort of similar age, right? And we think about
yeah,
our childhood, and for us, in some way, Wallace and Gromit was the childhood. You know what I mean? For me, it was The Wrong Trousers. Like that was the Christmas film to watch for some
yeah.
reason. Don't know why. It's not really Christmas themed. But it
No,
was always on at Christmas, and like every year
yeah.
it'd be like The Wrong Trousers is on. Time to sit down and put it on. And it was the one film that I think my household anyway would sit down and would sort of
Yeah.
would gather
There-
round and watch.
there's a it's the word, it's a freshness about this film that I really
Yeah.
like. There's something fresh about it, and that makes a lot of sense because it has been 15 years since the last, animated Wallace and Gromit film.
It was some of
Yeah.
the puns and one-liners and
Yeah.
the little sort of I don't know what you'd call them, Englishisms, maybe.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
when the news presenter comes up and it's Anton Deck.
Anton Deck. They did ask permission, by the way, from
Did
Ant,
they?
and yeah, they just said, just by the way, they didn't need to, but they did. They got their blessing for that one.
Yeah.
Did you hear about, because in the past, I think there'd been the concern with um, uh, Hollywood interference about the Englishisms, as you were saying, the Englishness of it. The story they got from this one that got printed, the Netflix had just said, we just have some script queries there, and it was, who's Nora and why does she need flipping? I think it was one of Peter Kay's lines of just like, flipping Nora. And it was just like, this is not an expression they use in the United States, quite clearly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But
I've always
quite
had
a
a
lot of
laugh
our
with,
listeners are from like the States and Canada, right, Gav?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
well, they
yeah.
might
like
they might
I
be.
hope that they
All three
go.
of them.
I hope they go and watch this film if they haven't
Yeah,
yet. And it would be really fun to know what stuff went over their head.
yeah,
You know what I mean, versus what landed, because there was a lot of stuff in that, and there's probably way more than I spotted in that first pass watch, where I'm like, there's going to be little
yeah.
Easter eggs in that people just aren't going to
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Someone had put the signs up the other day because I watched it on a tiny screen on Christmas Day. I'd seen it on the big screen, and I think I even missed it the second time. But it's when the canal boat's going down at the end, um, going along, and it says Yorkshire border, keep out. And you see it from the reverse side, the Lancashire side. It says, "No, you keep out" on the other side. Did you not clock that? It just someone had put it the other day online and just went, "I didn't notice this." So we're like, "No, I couldn't see it either on Christmas Day. It was just the screen I was watching it on." But just such a nice little detail. I've talked about it before, but again, you're talking about stop motion and what it means, but the detail that these guys put in, and that specifically is the pirates of going down. When I first time I went to see the set of the Pirates and the Adventure with scientists, they had the Blood Island like seafront, and it's done out like a little holiday seaside town with those little postcard, the little postcard holders that rotate, outside the shops. And each one had little postcards in them, tiny little postcards, hand drawn little postcards in these things that they're only going to be about what, you know, inch and a half big, and they'd gone to the effort of
you must have
making
so much fun.
postcards for these things. Yeah,
You
they
must have a
do. I
lot of
mean,
fun doing this stuff.
well, that's the thing, and I went down and the animators I'm working on, they were working. Some of them were working on wrong trousers, so they've been there for that long. You don't stay in the job that long if you don't enjoy it, do you? I suppose.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So just to kind of throw a bit of a curveball as well, I wanted to ask you about something that I've looked up online, tried to do some research on you, and I see it, this is going, and I know you've recently done something with this character, like now, really recently. But the videos that I seen was little clips on an old, I think it's like an old YouTube channel of yours, and it's
Hmm.
Fred Strangebone,
Fred Strangebone. Yeah.
and that is
I should.
a comedy character of yours that you created, and you do stand up.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I do stand up with him. Yes. Yes. He was a character I created many years ago in a South London tourist trap, um, which has since moved. Um, and I created him in this sort of Jack the Ripper experience bit. So he's a bit of an East Ender, so he had a bit of a Doc Cotton voice going on there like that. He was very much
Yeah,
like, "You come in here and see the murder." And
that's brilliant.
it took a while, and I do a lot of sort of comedy, and there's been a lot of clowning coming into comedy performance now, and people are using that in their comedy and getting away a little bit from the stand up. It was something I was looking for when I started doing it, back in 2006, 7, and it wasn't enough. I ran a night and I wanted more kind of character acts and weirdness, and now that's really happening. It seems it's a big move towards it, but yeah, it took me a while to realize that he can't just be like a weirdo. He can't just be like this creepy guy. He's got to be the victim.
Yeah,
He is. It's everything bad. It happens to him. So Yeah, I did. I did a performance last week, thinking, "Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Might put him back in his box," and it went down really well. To the lovely small crowd who'd gathered to watch me. One of whom was a big Wallace and Gromit fan. There were three. The three guys showed up beforehand, and they just had lots of stuff for me to sign. You know, so they didn't recognize that. So they knew I was here, and I signed it all. So I was like, "You come and see the show then?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah, I think I seen
You
that on you. You posted it on
you
Instagram. You're like,
mentioned this to me,
these
didn't you,
lovely
Gav?
people came to meet me, but they're not coming to the show. Like,
I told him this story, and I'm just showing off now with the attempt to do it. But my friend, he worked in my friend Jake. He worked in a box office in London at the Donmar, and Ian McDermott was in the show. You know, the Emperor from Star Wars, the actor who
yeah,
plays the Emperor from Star Wars, I should say. He was in the show anyway. So they'd have a lot of Star Wars fans coming to get autographs. And anyway, he's there one day, and my friend Jake, he's at the box office. He says, "Oh, Mr. McDermott, there's some fans over there," and he's like, "Oh, okay," and goes over there, and he sees them talking to him and just sort of nodding, and then he starts signing things. And he comes back and he tells my Jake, he says, "I only sign if they've been to see the show." And Jake says, "Well, how do you know?" And he says, "Because I test them."
Well, it's what you should
As
start doing, Ben. Give them
Yeah, well,
a
there
pop
we
quiz
go.
beforehand.
It's not happening that much these days, but yeah, I think I'll keep doing it in answer to that well, not answer to that, but yeah, just bringing that Fred Strangebone thing up. There's a lot of physical comedy in it. My agent came to see me. She saw a bit of a clanger of a show, to be fair. And she's my voice agent. She was just like going, "What are you doing? You're not speaking. I can't, you're right now using your voice. I can't sell this." Like, that's not well anyway. But yeah, I do like it is a bit of a challenge to start the show and see how long I can go without talking and just making stuff, just doing something physically and seeing if it lands, and if it does, keep doing it. And I went 10 minutes, I think, the last show, and it's like, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I don't know if I can stretch it for a full hour, but
that's pretty good though, 10 minutes. I mean, physical
yeah,
comedies, like, it reminds me of Mr. Bean. And it's stuff like that. Like my wife's parents are both deaf, and there's a big deaf community of like I've got to know like a lot of deaf people just from knowing them. And
yeah,
they obviously love physical comedy because they can't hear anything
yeah,
anyway. So they like
yeah,
somebody like Mr. Bean. They're just so into it, and it's given me a new appreciation for different things like that as well.
yeah.
So, and yeah, I can
It,
imagine like it's I mean it's a talent in itself to get up there and actually do stuff without using your voice. Like, hats off to
Especially
you.
for a voice actor. That's kind of
well,
a
Yeah,
nuts
yeah,
departure,
exactly.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but like you say, it's voice acting's kind of what I fell into just from that chance. But um, physical, I mean, I learned it at university. I'd go on stage, try and be serious, and people would laugh. And rather than being disheartened by this, I went, maybe you should go down the comedy route, because they're laughing when you're trying to be serious. And that is the thing I sometimes forget is don't try and be funny, for God's sake. Try and be serious, because that's it. I'm a very tall person, and that I kind of look funny. It looks a bit weird, and especially when I'm trying to be authoritative. It's a sort of character trope sometimes. It's like, and the more, especially if you're on stage with someone else, which is much more exciting than being on your own, if they try and undermine your authority and height and whatever else, it's even funnier,
How,
because
how,
you're
how
going to get
tall are you?
angry. 6'4".
Six
Very
four.
tall,
Wow,
but
that
tall,
is tall.
tall enough, taller than most microphones that I turn up to at a sound
Yeah,
studio. If it's a new
slight
place, it's
adjustments.
like, yeah, we're gonna
Here
do
comes
it.
Hunchy.
The thing is, when you turn down like this, it really doesn't affect the voice. So yeah, you've got to have that. But yeah, I'm usually like sellotaping the script up somewhere from the ceiling, like flypaper there, so I can read
On the top of people's heads.
it.
Have you thought about doing a podcast yourself? Because obviously you have the voice for it.
It's a good question, and I would say that as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, because I do. I listen a lot. I don't watch as much. I watch films. I don't watch much TV. Has to be said. I was like sport. I got into baseball. Can you believe that? In the pandemic, I absolutely love baseball. Anyway,
Baseball, yeah.
it's not the most convenient sport to love when you live in the UK, but they sometimes come over. Anyway, yes, I've thought about it, and actually, what I've got is a character I came up with in the pandemic, and I want to start working with that. It's a puppet, because I don't
Okay.
like. I generally like the answer is I don't like being myself as much. I'm not as comfortable. It's nice talking to you guys. You're lovely boys. You're treating me kindly. I thought you might, be cruel, but it's nice to just me gab away and prattle on or whatever. But actually, sort of me talking as me, saying, "Here's what I've got to say." I've always had a bit, even when I've done I did tour guiding in the past, as my sort of backup job. I didn't like that as myself as much at all. I always much preferred to be in character doing that. Um, I have a sort of puppet, a skull puppet, and I got him out, and it's a very simple device. I've just got a black glove and a black background, and when you shine a light on it, it looks like it's floating. It's so simple. It's just like,
Yeah.
didn't have had to do any effects, and he's got like a missing tooth, and so I sort of give him a sort of little, a little
A little
whistle.
whistle.
So, but there's it's the gag is trying to say as many everything I say has got to have an S in it just to get it out. But yeah, it's also that you're talking about um, um, stop motion being alive and being there. If you've got this thing that's got like wind coming out of it, it gives it that life. It's like it's just a tiny little thing, but it's like, oh, it's alive. There's breath coming out of this puppet's lungs. It's just a skull. But with that,
You just made me think of, right, between
uh,
comedy and that. Did you ever watch Lee Evans at all? His stand up?
I went to see him once. Yeah, I saw a stand-up show once.
He does
Yeah, I
one
can't remember
part
which one it
where
was.
one bit where basically he's talking about how an old woman's at a supermarket or something, and she they're scanning things, and he thinks it's being scanned multiple times because she's talking about sesame seed soup, which obviously I can't do the whistle like you can, but just made me laugh.
Oh yeah, that's I do love Lee Evans. No, yeah, this isn't like some. I always come up and go, this is an old gag boy, but it doesn't matter. It's like, come on, it's a fun gag. Oh man, no, I love Lee. Speaking of physical comedians, and I think his physical stuff was absolutely brilliant. I could have watched him do it. I'd love to have seen him do an hour of straight,
Yeah.
physical comedy. I thought it would be absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been
Yeah, he's
retired a
great.
while, is he, Lee? Hasn't he? I think
It
just
was
saw
it was
him.
very physical for him though, wasn't it? Like if you watch any of
Yeah.
his stand-ups and stuff, he was like super sweaty afterwards, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
He
it's
almost made
exhausting
it
to watch, to be honest. He's really
It-
funny, but like you'd be exhausted just watching
yeah.
him because he
Yeah.
puts so much into it.
That energy levels. Whereas this character I played, the Fred Strangemount character, it's the exact opposite. It's standing there like staring at people and quivering my lip. That's about as it. But it's still the thing is with that. What I discovered is once you build up that tension, the release of the first gag doesn't have to be as funny. You just get that pressure valve release and you get a bigger laugh because you're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
oh God, what's he gonna do? Oh. Yeah, you just get away with writing weaker material. Don't have to be Lee Evans, I tell you that.
So
But
apart from your comedy then and your baseball, I guess, like what are you into outside of Ben the professional? Do you know what I mean?
what are my
What is
hobbies?
it you like doing? What's your hobbies?
What are my hobbies? You need to have a hobby. You definitely need to have a hobby. I early days of being an actor, I used to love walking. And I moved to London. As I said, I was a student in Liverpool, and I grew up. I was born up in Cheshire originally, but I moved down to near London when I was young. Grew up in the suburbs. And I guess I was like right at the outer suburbs, like playing in the woods and the fields and whatever else. I was kind of like that. But when I moved to London to sort of become an actor, I just walked around the place. I just became a flaneur and kind of really got interested in the little curiosities and the hidden bits and the history of the place, which got me into tour guiding a little bit, as a very enjoyable backup job for when the acting wasn't coming in. And that I think also around about so I went to New Zealand and I went tramping, as they call it, tramping, uh, and so
Tramping.
you a 3 or 4 day hike and you stay in little huts or bodies or whatever else, and that's I think hiking is my hobby, and it's a great hobby to have as an actor because it's so simple. I'd never like to invest too much in equipment and things like that or take things too seriously. Let's not get too into this. My brother's a fisherman and he takes me sometimes, but I don't even have a rod. I love going, but I don't even have a fishing rod. But yeah, I'd say hiking and walking that's definitely my hobby. And then you got to plan it a little bit, you know. You've got to know where you're staying if you can, or you know,
So you're going like
devote that.
multiple day hikes. That's what you're sort
Yeah, I
of.
love that. I love that. I did the coast to coast. Did the coast to coast in 3 goes, and on the last stretch, was the best I thought across North York. We've got these two guys, and they're two brothers. I'm like, I know one of them. One of them's familiar. And then we stood in the pub and got talking and introduced myself. He said, I'm Charlie. It was Charlie Hunnam, the actor Charlie Hunnam. Met him on the hike there. You know Charlie Hunnam? You familiar with his work?
No.
Sons of Anarchy. He was a Geordie lad. You know, you got to look at these guys up, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look
What
them
can I
up.
say? He was in America most of the time. That's the thing. His breakthrough was the '90s show Queer as Folk. I think he was in that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
And
remember
then,
that show. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
no,
he's
wait. He's the main
it's,
actor. He's Jackson, Sons of Anarchy.
that's the one. He's the guy from
Oh,
Sons of
right.
Anarchy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So no, I'm on this little hobby thing with my friend. I'm there going like, this Hollywood movie star, TV star going on here. What's going on? Really nice fella, by the way. Anyway, I'm just like, I'm Mr. Name Dropper, aren't I? I told my sister-in-law, she was
But you can do your
slobbering,
thing now. You know what I mean? You go, all right, Charlie. I'm Wallace.
Yeah.
I'm Wallace and
Well, do you know what? It's
Gromit.
so funny because listen, honestly, I keep it to myself. My mate in Liverpool, by the way, I saw him, hadn't seen him for a few years, and I'm up in Liverpool, Mick from Iton, and we're talking. I'm like, you don't know I do this job, do you? It doesn't know. And I smelled, I was like, you know, and I said, someone said, did you not tell him? And I went, nah, no need. We were watching the football, just, you know, reminiscing over old times. And, yeah, he does. I've still got a mate who doesn't know I do this.
That's hilarious.
I don't
That is
shout
funny.
about it. And I think it's just from years of not shouting about it and being respectful to the fact that this was someone else's job,
Yeah.
particularly while Peter Sallis was still with us. It's like, no, it's kind of still there a little bit. And I also just like feel a little bit shy,
You, you,
you know,
you
a
need to
little bit
celebrate
shy.
it, Ben, because
Oh, well.
you're part of a legacy now. Do you know what I mean? You're
I,
like
I,
all your other things aside. I know we've talked a lot about Wallace, and there's so much more
yeah,
to you than that. But you know what I mean? Like
no.
that is massive.
Well, yeah, a student asked it the other day, and it was a good question. They just not in a Q and A thing, but they were just doing. I was just sort of meeting them afterwards, and he just said, "If this was all you were known for, would you be happy with that? All you were ever known for?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, of course,
Simply, yeah.
absolutely." It's like, I mean, I'd like still be working. You know, it's not like, you know, as long as I could still work. But if it was like I am the guy who, you know, did Wallace and Gromit for Vengeance Most Foul, and hopefully some future projects as well. You know, I hope I've kept the job. I think, like to think I have anyway. We get already get to, but you never know. You never know as an
Have you
actor. I
got
already
anything
get
upcoming? Any interesting projects upcoming then?
with Wallace and Gromit, or just with
Any?
Wallace and Gromit. We've been working on something which I'm, yeah, probably not allowed to do. It's oh no. Well, anyway, there's something going on. It's like a little sort of side thing with Wallace and Gromit, not an animation. Um, I have, yeah, potentially. I mean, again, I'm creating my own stuff a little bit. There's a community outdoor theatre show that I want to get on. I bumped into the fellow who runs the theatre and circus field at Glastonbury when I was up in Liverpool, and I sent him an application to bring something down there. You ever been there, the theatre and circus field? Have you ever been to
No.
Glastonbury? It's
No.
the one. Again, it's the one bit you don't see if you haven't been because it's not on the telly. But it's been there as long as the festival's been running, and it's just makes it. It's brilliant. It's just one of these things you walk into and there's these weird walkabout acts, and there's, you know, there's comedians on in the tent. There's a circus tent as well. It's fantastic. So I'm building an outdoor show, and at the moment, it's sort of I've done it at the Edinburgh Fringe, but I want to sort of take it out there a bit more. But that needs good planning and commitment. And if you're trying to do other work, it's quite hard. Um, so yeah, I'm making my own things. Uh, there might be the possibility of performing at the Edinburgh Fringe again in another show, but that's early days yet. But I'm already excited. You know, you've got to look ahead to August, right? That's the theatre for you. You know, you've got to look ahead well in advance. So yeah, we'll wait and see about that. But that'd be nice because that'd be 30 years since I first went up to the Edinburgh
Wow.
Fringe when I was a young student in Liverpool. We went up with this great show, very gritty 60s drama, and that was my sort of first taste of, you know, well, not its first taste, but you know, on a more of a public stage. And yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. So it's kind of like I've been up there a few times since. You've been up to the Fringe, fellas? You done that
No,
one?
never been. No,
I've
no.
I've
Yeah,
always looked at it, but.
Put it on
Yeah.
the list. Put it on the list.
It's on my
It's
bucket
well
list.
worth going. Yeah, you get
Same
honestly,
with
it's
Glastonbury, to be fair. That's something I'd like to experience at least once.
if you can get a ticket though, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
Try and
Yeah.
get in
problem,
his
isn't it?
Exactly.
work.
Yeah.
Try and get in on the work ticket if you can. But yeah, the Edinburgh Fringe is well worth it. It's you know for all the things that are wrong with it, it's still there. And I think having that pandemic and not being able to do things like that, you really
Yeah.
appreciate it
Exactly.
more.
Yeah.
You get together
You
with a
enjoy it
million
all the
people
more
from
now that
show.
it's we can do stuff like that again. So
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah,
definitely.
and I want to celebrate that, and I celebrate that with the show that I've got, the Theatre in the Bin show. That's the outdoor show, the Theatre in the Bin, and it kind of celebrates that a little bit. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is don't take it for granted because sometimes you can't have it.
Yeah.
But people
Exactly. Yeah.
coming together to celebrate culture like this is a good thing. It's
Yeah.
healthy, even if you see a load of rubbish. I don't mind. I don't mind seeing a bad show. I'm like, I don't care. It's fine. I'm
I think
seeing
I
a
think that
show.
was one of the few good things to come out of the pandemic, wasn't it? Was like I think most people come away from it with an appreciation for when
Yeah,
you can face to face with people.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For
So what
sure.
do you go? What are your hobbies? Come on, you're asking me. What do you
Oh,
guys do
geez.
when
Well,
you're
yeah.
not going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in August?
I mean, aside from obviously working, I do the podcast obviously, and
Yeah.
I'm a singer as well. So like I don't do any performing. Haven't done any performing since I've lived in Canada. But I'm in like a duo with a friend of mine that's back in the UK. We write
Uh-huh.
songs and we produce
Oh,
them together using programs over the internet. We put an EP out a couple of years ago on Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. So yeah, just music and stuff like that's like my hobby and yeah, playing video games. Yeah.
uh, again for the listeners at home, I'm looking in the background at the merch you've got there at these. I can't quite tell, but I can see a hover Back to the Future 2 hoverboard
That's
there.
that's
Should I
actually
have
a that's
mentioned?
actually a cushion. That's like a
Is
pillow.
it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's
But
brilliant.
I
That
do
looks
have a
so good.
replica of the hoverboard that's over in the corner there that it makes sounds and stuff. Yeah, I'm a big Back to the Future fan.
Oh man, yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, again, remember watching it at the cinema. I'm glad those films have survived and are entertaining
Oh,
young
they're the best. They're
generations.
just the best.
That's
I've got
brilliant.
like there's a glass cabinet here you can't see that's full of like figures and stuff. It's all Back to the Future
Mhm.
related. And then there's a Star Wars one and a Muppets one and all. It's just surrounded by nerdy stuff. This whole basement. When we got the house, I said to my wife, I was like, the only thing I want is the basement. You can have the rest of the house. I just want the basement. She was like, that's fine. So
That's
it's
good
my
stuff.
space and I love it.
Yeah, you're actually a bit of a collector, aren't you, Gav? You never
I
mentioned that
try
about
to be. I
the
don't have the
stuff.
money to be an actual collector, but it's just stuff that I've gathered
Yeah.
over the years. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I
Oh
need
For
man.
now
me,
is this is what I need now. So this is my podcast desk, and I have little figurines. I'll just show you. There's a little Bugs Bunny because we spoke to Jeff Bergman who voices Bugs Bunny.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've got Baby Kermit from the Muppet Babies because Matt Danner
Mhm.
came on the podcast and we
Oh,
interviewed him.
nice.
And then Carlos Alazraki, who voices Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. So I have these
Uh-huh.
little statues on the shelf. Now I have to have a Wallace one now. And I
Yeah,
was
you got
looking
to
the
get
other
one.
day, preemptively looking on Amazon, for like just a little statue that's no bigger than this, that I can just stand there now because we've had the pleasure of talking to you. So yeah.
Oh man, I'm reaching around seeing I've got these two things from Armor. The only thing I can find is this this guy, which I
That's
think is
Mr.
a
fantastic.
Burns.
Happy Meal or a Burger King or something
Yeah,
like that.
Mr. Burns,
Get
yeah.
back to work.
Yeah,
I've
excellent.
got a Mr. Burns. Yeah.
All I've got in
Hmm.
my desk is a little Dungeons and Dragons Lego figure
Oh
and a
man.
and a Grogu, I think.
So random, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh, I've
love
also got this. You guys will appreciate this because you both will have heard of the show. I mean, people over here have got no idea, but it's actually an old. Remember when mobile phones used to be able to get things you could put your mobile in and the signal would set it off and it would make noises. Do you ever remember
yeah.
those? Okay, so I have a Jim Royal from the Royal family.
Jim Royal.
I use it as a pen holder now, but you used to put your phone in the back of it, and it used to. I had to take the batteries out because it never stops talking. But it used to play
Oh
little
man.
phrases from the show. Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, listen, you're reminding me. Name drop it again. Got to work with Liz Smith.
Hey,
Liz
listen, I've
Smith
tried
there,
so many
Nana on
times.
the
I've tried so many times to get Ricky Tomlinson on this podcast, and I can't
yeah.
find an agent or anyone that he's. I mean, he's in
I,
his early 80s now, so he's knocking on. But I'd
does he
love to
have an
talk to
agent?
him.
He may not even have an agent, does he, Ricky? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just know he's that. he's that nice of a fella. I think he'd do it,
Mm.
but I just can't get hold of him. Trying,
He's
but I just
got a
can't get hold
strong
of him.
union. He was a big union guy,
He
wasn't he,
was,
as well?
yeah, he
He's got
was.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my dad's
interesting
claim to
fella.
fame is being friends with somebody that was in prison with him because Ricky went to prison because he was
Yeah,
protesting. So he was standing
yeah.
up for his rights. My dad's friend was in prison for house robbery. So it's
Oh,
slightly different.
slightly
I'm
different.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really the same
Not
thing.
as
But he's like, oh,
noble.
yeah, Barry used to know him and they were inside together. And I'm like, yeah, Barry's not a good guy.
Oh man, the
So anyway,
royal
listen, before we
family.
let you
Great
go,
show.
right, there's a fan group on
Hmm.
Facebook which I became a part of in preparation to talking to you. It's a Wallace and Gromit fan group, and it's literally called Wallace and Gromit Fan Club, and it's
Hmm.
full of fans of the show. And
Hmm.
I went in there the other day, and I let people know that we were going to be talking to you, and I said, if anyone's got any questions that
Hmm.
you want us to ask Ben, let us know. I was inundated with questions. I was really
Oh
like,
man.
quite surprised actually that like there was that many people that were like, ask him this, ask him that. Most of
Why
the
were you
comments were
surprised?
just people saying how amazing a job that you've done. I mean, you should go and check them out. To be honest, I
Oh
don't even
well,
think you have to be a
yeah.
member to read these comments.
Uh-huh.
But I did save like there's four questions I just want to ask you. You've
Right.
kind of answered some of them anyway already in our chat with you, but we'll go with the first one. This one's from a guy called Steve Kemp, and Steve said, "We know that Peter Kay slipped in a few ad libs. Did you stick rigidly to the script, or did you get a few little ad libs in there as well when you were reading?"
I usually do ad lib. I think on this one, I don't think my ad libs were very successful. So if I did, I probably did ad lib, but I don't think anything made it in. I think I
Okay.
was like, the script is so precious. We must, give it full respect. It was a very funny script, to be fair. So yeah, I don't think any ad libs actually made it into the film, but it was something we all do, and especially having two directors, there is an awful lot of ad libbing, and we do
Yeah,
always
so
sort of just try it a
they
different way.
encourage it then. It's not like they say don't do any ad libs, just read what's down. Like,
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, no, no. It's like try this and yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like, the script writer's not in there going, don't mess with my script. Like,
yeah,
so yeah,
that's
I
great.
think if there might just be something, this is probably no answer to that. There might be something that just doesn't quite sound right and it might sound better if we change it. But yeah, it's usually just a word or a slight tweak. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think my ad libs did not as good as Peter Kay's.
Okay, so the next one is from Sarah Crowther, and she says, "What's your favorite cheese?"
It's not the first time I've answered this question. And I do love a really good, strong cheddar. Like the
Yeah,
ones that it makes the top of your head sweat.
yeah,
Yeah, one of them. Like
I like that
cave
on a
aged
sandwich.
cheddar cheese.
That's not bad on a sandwich with some pickle. If I was going to have
Yeah,
cheddar, that's how
I'll
I
go
enjoy
for
that.
that. I'll have it. Pickle on its own, whatever. But like a really strong vintage,
Yeah. What's your stance on
sweaty
brie?
cheddar.
What do you think of brie?
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, I probably prefer camembert, but yeah,
Yeah, very similar.
it's very I like a bit of gorgonzola. Who doesn't? Something nice and salty like that. I got
Yeah.
to avoid the blue
But
cheeses
blue
at the
cheese,
moment.
you're an
I
avoider.
no, I have to at the moment. I got to you just sort of ongoing stomach things, and it's like yeah, you got to not eat cheese. I've got Easter is when it all like this. I'm on a bit of a diet, and when it all like comes up, it's like back on the beer. Anything sort of live and cultured, I've got to be a bit careful about. But yeah, anyway, were there any questions about my bowels? Because I'm answering.
I'm sure there's probably one.
Oh, Ben's gut health. Does it affect your work? Yeah, I'm up for brie. I'm up for pretty much any cheese you can imagine. I don't like it when they put too many bits in. I don't need currants in there. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
the cheese.
Just
Like,
keep it cheese.
yeah. I don't
There's
need
one,
anything
do you know
added
what
to
though?
it.
There's a spreadable one that comes out here at Christmas time and it's got little pieces of cranberry in it and it's really nice on
Is it
crackers. It
good?
is.
Ah,
Yeah.
I like it. I
It's
like that. I like
spreadable.
them in the crackers. I like those like posh crackers with the cranberries in them and the raisin. Oh
I'll
yeah,
say they're more
I
like
like a posh
biscuits to me,
cracker.
those. Yeah. When you start putting stuff inside crackers, they just become a biscuit.
You just want the Jacobs. You just want the
Yeah.
cream crackers.
Keep it simple. Okay,
Yeah.
next question. This one, we kind of already answered this one. This one's from Dawn Quinn, and she just wants to know what you think of the final film, and did you notice all the little hidden jokes and references, and what was your favorite Easter egg within the
Uh,
movie?
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Um, I think speaking of cheese, just to answer that last one, I think Feathers hovering over the match, all the items with cheese in when he's trying to break into Wallace's secret hidden
Yeah,
files,
yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just like name all the things with cheese, and there's just the moon there as a
Yeah, and he's
reference
like,
to
he
the
sees it and he
the
goes,
grand
yeah,
day out, and it's just like a little sort of pondering moment there. I love
that
that
was
one. I
great.
think
That's
that,
probably, you know what? That's probably my favorite one. I love
yeah,
that because it was just
yeah,
it's a nod to because I
Drawback
mean
would be
obviously this
old.
movie was like it was basically a sequel to The Wrong Trousers in a way, and but
yeah,
that little scene was just a nod to the Grand Day Out.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Welcome
yeah,
to my top secret files. It's just the thing as well as you don't even notice it, but it's the fact that Feathers has got the manacles on, over his little tapered flippers, like
yeah,
they'd stay on. I just love
yeah.
that. And there's like he's got manacles on that like would just slip off if he put his flippers there. Um, yeah. Was there something between what did I think of the film and what was
Yeah, it
the
was a loaded question. So it was just like, what did you think of the movie? Which you've already said. I mean, you've obviously who doesn't love the movie? But like, did you notice all the little jokes and things? And what was your favorite one?
So some are in the script, some are actually scripted, but they yeah, and I think it was that. The sign is funny at the end with the "You keep out." No
Yeah.
parking. Did you get that one as well? Welcome to Yorkshire, no parking. Did you see
No,
that
I
one?
didn't see that one. No, I
No.
missed
Oh,
it.
whoa! I should have said. Yeah, no parking without the G. No parking, as in like the whatever Lancashire brownie.
Oh,
What else do you call it? It's like
Oh
that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
ginger. It's like a gingerbread brownie, isn't it? Parking. Love a bit
yeah,
of
yeah.
Lancashire food. Black peas. Oh, do you have them? Black peas. Oh yeah, you get black peas up in Lancashire in sort of October time. Yeah, it's around that November the 5th. Oh yeah, put a bit of vinegar in them.
I've seen online somebody
Lancashire
pointing out
caviar.
caveat. Yeah. I seen online somebody pointed out, and I don't know if this was an Easter egg or not, but like there's a scene where it's in like the the entrance of the house, and there's a like a flat cap and a like a trench coat hanging up, and they
Yeah,
said that that is like an ode to Peter Sallis from like what he
yeah,
would wear in Last of
yeah,
Some
yeah.
Wine. Is that an Easter egg? Is
I,
it?
I hadn't seen that until someone had put it out. But yeah, really nice, eh? That's
Yeah,
really
if it's
nice. I
true, it's
think.
lovely. I
Yeah,
mean, even if it's not true, it's
yeah.
the fact somebody picked up on it, and it's yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, no, I think
all
that
those little touches what make those
I
films,
think
eh?
that's definitely yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's intentional for sure. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, just to round it up with what do they think of the film? Yeah, it just I read the script. I read the script. I was laughing out loud, and I thought, I think this is like the funniest one I've read. This is absolutely brilliant. And you're always thinking like, I think this is going to be really good. You never know. You never know how people are going to take it.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I always thought the film was. I was very confident, even just from the script, that it was going to be good. Obviously, slightly daunting myself, but just the thing I love most is the fact that people have, embraced it so, and their kids have. And my
yeah.
kids sent me, my friends sent me a video of her daughter dancing, doing the Norbot dance. She's like 5 or 6 or something. She was doing I'm a Jolly Robot. So good. I just like,
So
yeah,
creepy, the Norbots, weren't they?
man. Man, I did hear this the other night because Reece Shearsmith's doing a show in London at the moment, the Inside Number 9 show. And apparently a lot of people are bringing Norbots up to get autographed. And it's like, hey, I was like,
Honestly,
well,
like I was
he's such a
watching it
good
and like
character.
I hadn't sort of vetted it beforehand before I
Yeah,
was watching it with my son, and we're watching it like our movie night is Friday night, right? He goes and does martial arts, and then we
yeah,
come home, we have a takeaway, and we watch a movie on a Friday night. So we're watching
yeah,
it, and like the Norbot, the bit where he's just like walking into the hallway and he just turns around and looks and
yeah,
stuff, and I'm
yeah.
like, is this gonna give him nightmares?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought the same as well. Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw it. Yeah, that people have said that like he's a bit scary. There was my friend. I took my friend in Bristol. He lives there with his family. He's got 3 boys, and the youngest is what, probably 3 or 4 now. And it was just that moment where he did it, and all of a sudden he got into his mum's lap for that bit after that. It was like, yeah, that's too much. That's too much. I need to cuddle mum now.
I started
Yeah,
to get anxiety when, like, when the Norbots are coming up the stairs from the basement and Gromit opens the door.
mm,
I was getting anxiety because I'm like, is there going to be like a jump scene on this? And thankfully, they were a little bit further down the stairs than I was expecting when he opened the door. But I was
Well,
genuinely like on the edge of my seat with that.
it's when he surprises them down in the basement, and it's like the whatever it is, Orthanc and 2 towers or whatever, and they're building, the
Yeah,
gnomes, and treads on the rub, little squeaky dog, and all of a sudden they're just looking down on him there, and he's like, pats the thing there. It's their look. It's that. That is
I was
amazing. There,
I was just
yeah,
looking at my phone there actually, like of that moment that I mentioned, and I actually took a couple of videos of like my son's reaction to some of the parts in that film. Like, I don't normally do that. I don't know why I did it for that particular film, but like I
yeah,
just turned around and started videoing. Do you know what I mean? Because his face just told a story. Do you know what I mean? The
yeah,
entire film, he was just like, or
yeah,
like it was really nice to see, and that particular bit when it started getting a bit creepy, I was like
yeah,
that with my phone. I was
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the other thing about the film is, and they told me before I read the script. They said we're sort of saying something in this one. There is a little slight more of a message in here than we might usually go for. And
about AI
you know,
and stuff.
I'd noticed that with the Shaun the Sheep movie and thought, and Shaun the Sheep, the movie is one of my favorite Aardman cartoons. It is a total masterpiece. I absolutely love it. Um, and I like the way that Wallace and Gromit does have a sort of, a message about getting too reliant on tech and overusing technology, embracing it, but overusing it as Wallace does to his detriment.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. It was a
Yeah.
good,
It,
it's a
it, it was interesting
really
because like
simple.
a big part of my work, like what I sort of specialize in is like data centers.
Mm,
Really, my
yeah,
niche for the past 5 or 6 years has been data centers, and obviously AI is a massive
yeah,
part of that, and I'm a keen
yeah,
follower of it. So when the
yeah.
whole theme of it was sort of like how these robots have sort of had their AI corrupted, I was
Mm,
like, "Ooh, that's a bit close to the bone, that you know."
yeah,
But
yeah.
it was interesting.
Well, and that's it. But and people obviously, people ask you, say you're not worried that AI is going to take your job, and it's like, well, watch this film. These guys have spent a long time animating this, nearly 2 years of recording and animating. Um, it's not, this isn't going anywhere very quickly.
No,
You know what I mean? There was very little sort of post
as
tinkering
Gav
done with
said earlier, right?
this.
It's real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's real, it
exactly.
is.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. That's what I love
people
about it.
are,
So,
I
okay,
mean,
so
yeah.
I'm going to finish these questions. This isn't a question, but I'm going to
Oh,
finish the
more.
questions.
Keep going. Yeah, go on.
This is from Kim Yarrow, and she just wanted me to tell you that you did a cracking job, lad.
Thank you, Kim. Very kind of you. I appreciate it. And just while we're here, honestly, everyone has been so kind to me. I really appreciate it. I do sometimes reply. I can't all the time. Haven't got any capability to send autographs off for the minute as well, unless you actually approach me on the street. But I'll probably have to do this and do like a personal thank you to everyone who has just been like so full of praise and kindness for my work on this. It means a lot. It really
Yeah.
does mean so much to me. Just it's really lifted me up this year. It's not like I've been, too down in the dumps and everything extremely excited, but to have that, to give people positive feedback like that, and it really does mean something to me.
Yeah,
I have to
and
say,
like I say,
thank
there
you,
was
everyone.
many comments on that thread there that was just like, he telling me he did an amazing job, and like he's really like
Yeah,
continued on the legacy, and yeah,
yeah,
really nice comments.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
great job. So final question, where can people
yeah.
find you on social media?
Well, I have an Instagram account. I think it's probably the best one because I don't want to use too many.
Yeah,
There is a Twitter one. It's still cool. Is it Twitter? Whatever it is. I
yeah.
barely look at it
X
It's
now,
anymore.
innit?
it's going down the pan, yeah.
It's well, I still look at it, but I'm just like, I can't have more than one account. And I think Instagram, the fact that it's more picture based.
Yeah.
So it's Ben Whitehead voice. I found out the other day, this is how rubbish I am at it. Someone was looking for me and they went, there's a Ben White he head. I was like, Ben Whitehead. I'd spelt my own name wrong on my Instagram account for like the last 4 or 5 months or something. I
With
looked at him
Ben
and was like,
Whitehead
what? Did
voice.
no one tell me this? Ben Whitehead. Yeah, so that's where you should follow me for everything I'm up to. There's a theater in the bin one as well, but yeah, I think go for if you want my
That the
Wallace
one that's got
related
like a
stuff.
hand with a face on
It's
it.
my little mouth. Yeah, I made that little
Yeah.
mouth when I was down. That's the one. I made a
Yeah.
Wallace mouth down at Ardman, and then we had I kept it obviously, and we had a charity raffle for. We had a friend of mine passed away last year, and we had a charity raffle for Center Point homeless charity, and I auctioned it off to another friend. And then when the
Oh,
video came
lovely.
out of me making it, I said, "Look, here's the authenticity," because all I had was like, it's a sort of. I just put it's authentic on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was very kind enough to do that. But yeah, yeah, it was good fun making it, and the little press there. But yeah, that's my remnant of it. You can see the work in
Fantastic.
my home.
Well, listen, Ben, thank you so much. You've given us way more the time than we asked for, and the both of us
Forward stiff,
really,
bro.
really appreciate
Brilliant.
it. It's been absolutely lovely chatting to you.
Yeah,
No,
we
it's
could
nice
talk
to
to you all
talk
day.
to you.
Yeah,
Thanks very
definitely.
much, fellas. Well, another time, there'll be another film out. Hopefully, I might be involved, and we'll
Oh
do it.
yeah, it'd be amazing to get you back on to talk about it when it does anyway.
Yeah, well,
100%.
let's watch this space. Hopefully, I'm
And you never
still
know if you're doing a show, like a
somewhat
live
convinced.
show somewhere in the UK, and I'm back visiting home at the time, I'll come
Yeah.
see you.
Hey, Canada, man. I've always wanted to go to
There you
Canada.
go.
Come
Come to
on.
Nova Scotia. There's loads of places around here. I'll hook you up.
Well, all right, mate. I'll take you up on that. I'd love to come over. There might be a chance I'm going to be coming over to America sometime soon.
There you
And
go.
I'd rather be in Canada.
Hey, listen, not at the moment. It's -20 at the moment. It's
Yeah,
really
maybe not for the
cold.
minute. I might wait till
Yeah.
the leaves come
Hold
out.
off
But
until like maybe May, June, something like that when it warms up.
I've only been there once to Niagara, and it was a fun night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to scratch a big country off my map just by crossing over a bridge to Niagara.
Nice.
Nice people, loved them. All right,
Excellent.
folks.
Cool.
Okay, buddy. Well, thank you so much again. I'm going to get this edited and out there, and I'll send you the link when it's done if you want to have a little listen back. But yeah, thank
Will
you
do.
so much. Absolutely
Cheers,
amazing.
Ben.
Pleasure to talk to you, lads. Take care. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me
you
Thanks.
have a
on.
nice day.
See you
Cheers, guys.
See
guys.
ya. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.